Halo used to be one of my favorite games when I was a young kid in 7th grade when Halo 1 Combat Evolved first came out on the Xbox, where I remember sinking several hours, days, and weekends just playing the campaign of Halo and in co-op and also doing 4 split screen multiplayer at a local LAN event. Unfortunately, those days are long gone. Now that these days, Halo franchise has not been doing too well ever since 343 took over after Bungie left to make Destiny. Especially now that Halo Infinite has been a disaster and with multiple delays and launch issues and a weak roadmap. On top of that, with a new weak TV show that's not doing too well on Paramount Plus, where many fans feel betrayed. Well, recently, the situation has just got a lot worse for Halo, where we could no longer see it be a single player campaign game where it's just mainly focused on multiplayer and they're switching the engines to Unreal. In this recent article, posted by Bloomberg, written by Jason Schreier. If you don't know who Jason Schreier is, he has a lot of deep connection in the video game industry and covers a lot of deep inside secrets, and he just dropped this bombshell. I'll post a link to this full article in the description below. I'll give you my thoughts and opinion at the end after the article. It's titled, Microsoft Studio Behind a Halo Faces a Reboot on Years of Turmoil. The title has surfaced multiple delays, development setbacks, and staff changes. Microsoft Corporation says it's going to keep new games in the popular Halo franchise as its prized 343 industry studio, despite rumor to the contrary. But after a leadership overhaul and mass layoffs, a host of big changes. The outfit is all but starting from scratch. The Redmond, Washington-based 343 Industries released its latest game, Halo Infinite, in December 2021 to widespread critical acclaim. It was seen as a redemption story for a title that suffered multiple delays, endless development problems, and a merry-go-round of creative leads. But in the months that followed, fans turned against the game, complaining about its thin roadmap and the slow rollout of features that had been expected on day one. At the same time, 343 was seemingly losing staff by the week and went through major leadership changes last fall that led to some employees to brace for reorganization. Well, the axe fell in mid-January when Microsoft announced mass layoffs, and 343 was hit very hard. Microsoft declined to provide specific figures. At least 95 people at the company have lost their jobs, according to a spreadsheet of affected employees reviewed by Bloomberg. The list named dozens of veterans, including top directors and contractors, upon which the studio heavily relies on. Those temporary employees were given just a few days' warning before their contract came to an end, according to people familiar with the process, asking not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. The cuts led to rumors that 343 would farm out the development of the Halo series to other companies. Matt Booty, head of Microsoft Game Studios, said in an interview that 343 will continue as the internal developer for Halo and the home of Halo. Internally, Booty has assured that 343 staff that even they work with outside partners and outsourcing houses, they remain in charge. The question remains, however, about the fate of the Halo franchise as the studio hollowed out major big changes of how it developed games. Chief among them is a pivot to a new gaming engine, the suite of tools and technology used to make video games. The studio's own engine, known publicly as Slipspace, has been one of the biggest points of contention over the past 2 decades, based largely on an old code from the 1990s and the early 2000s. It's buggy and difficult to use, and has been a source of headache for some developers on Halo Infinite. People familiar with the development said several multiplayer modes were nearly finished, such as Extraction and Assault, both popular in the previous Halo games, have yet to be released in a part of issues involving the engine, they said. At several points over the past decades, management at 343 switched to Epic Games' popular Unreal Engine, but it wasn't until late last year when the studio head Bonnie Ross and engine lead David Berger departed and Perry Hint took over that the firm finally decided to pivot to Unreal Engine. This switch will start with a new game code named Tatanka, according to people familiar with the plans. Project, which 343 is developing alongside the Austin, Texas-based game studio Certain Affinity, started off as a battle royale, but may evolve in a different direction. People said future games in this series will also explore the Unreal Engine, which makes development easier. Although internal skeptics are worried about the Switch will have negative impact the way Halo feels when you play it. A Microsoft spokesman declined to comment on the issues with the engine or company plans to pivot to Unreal. As Halo Infinite was released, fans had assumed that in addition to new multiplayer modes, 343 was working on new content for the story, but that wasn't the case. According to people familiar with the situation, developers were making prototypes in Unreal Engine and pitching ideas for new Halo games rather than working on new missions for Halo Infinite. Many of those developers were laid off last month, and the company isn't active working on new story content, the people said. A Microsoft spokesperson declined to comment. In the eyes of some observers and former 343 employees, the reorganization was long time coming. The studio, which was founded in 2007 to the inherent Halo and Microsoft parted ways, with the original developer Bungie, has struggled through many challenges, including the release of several polarizing games. Patrick Wren, a former 343 designer, said on Twitter that job cuts and the state of Halo franchise overall are results of incompetent leadership up to the top. During the Halo Infinite development that led to massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. Microsoft once promised Halo Infinite that it would be the start of the next 10 years for Halo, but recent moves point to a shorter-term vision. In an email to staff following the layoffs, Heinz wrote that the current plan for 343 is to support a robust live offering for Halo Infinite and its Forge level creator, and greenlighting our new tech stack for future Halo games and bringing Halo to more players through more platforms than ever before. Based on this article, it's kind of clear why Halo Infinite was such a delayed game. Through many issues with leadership, engines issues, and restructuring of the organizations, it just seems like Halo is in a bad spot right now and it has no real clear vision except working on live service for the current game and multiplayer. This doesn't mean that necessarily there won't be a new Halo game with new story content, but right now that's not the focus of the game studio, which is kind of sad for me. I usually play Halo for the single player, but it's understandable that several game companies, if your bread and butter and your money cow is coming from multiplayer, that's what Call of Duty does. They split the single player and multiplayer. You can buy which one you want, or you can buy them both together. I wish 343 can kind of do that, where you still don't leave out the single player, but overall, I don't see Halo in a good spot in a long time. And with the TV show just being absolutely disliked among many viewers and fans, it's not looking good, guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I appreciate the subscribe. Check out my new channel in the description link below. Take a look at a couple videos, see if you like them. If you do, subscribe and support that channel. I'll see you guys next time.